Episode number 43 this week, guys. I'm back, and with a full episode this week. A full hour of talking shit. Not really. There's going to be some information. No, there's going to be a topic covered off, but I'm not just filling in the gaps this week. I'm recording the whole episode. Woo! It is about 13 degrees outside, ladies and gentlemen. It's drizzling, raining. It is not 13, it's 15. It's drizzling. It's a Thursday midday. Sitting down. Don't know what I'm talking about now, but we're going to get into some stuff eventually. Hope you guys have had a good day. I have had a good day. Trained this morning. Hit up a session at BFT Monty. It was rough. My heart rate was zinging, very sweaty. Then did some strength afterwards, which was fucking sick. But yeah, day's going well. That's it. That's all I've got to do today. Once I record this, mate, I can just lie on the fucking couch and do nothing all day, which is great. Perfect segue. So I don't know if I mentioned this in last week's episode, but my psychologist gave me homework. She's like, you've got to lie still for like 15 minutes. You don't have to lie still, but you've got to try and lie still for 15 minutes and just kind of like explore how that feels. So like, if I'm sitting there, I'm like, I don't like this. This is pretty boring. I can't sit still. I'm struggling. What does it feel like to be struggling? Like, I want to move this. I want to move my leg. I want to flick my arms. I want to look at stuff, just kind of like explore how it feels to not want to sit still. And I hadn't done it until yesterday, and I did it again today. And it's been kind of beneficial, actually. So yesterday I did it. Beforehand, I was like really wired. Like I was fucking wired. And then I kind of did it 15 minutes. And then after that, I was like, okay, what do I need to do? And then I kind of just sat down, and I planned this whole podcast out. I just sat down and just pumped out 30 minutes of solid work after being wired and not being able to concentrate. So then I was like, then today I decided to do the same thing. And I did beforehand. I was fully wired. Like the first 5 minutes, I set a 15-minute timer on my watch and then just kind of like zone out. And the first 5 minutes, I think it was 5 minutes, I don't really know, but I was really struggling. I was like, my head was just racing, thinking of just so many different things, and it wasn't a great way to stay in shape. But eventually, I kind of calmed my shit down and started to be able to concentrate on not concentrating on anything and just kind of like feeling it out. And it was good. It was actually really good. The timer went off, and I was like, oh shit. I actually had to like stop it and then just lie there and kind of come back again. So I'm enjoying that practice, so I'm going to keep trying to do it. I actually propositioned her and said I want to get into reading because I struggle reading because I just get distracted too easily. And she just said that she's like, do this instead. Practice this, and then you can read later. It's not important that you read now. So I've been practicing this. And I don't know if I've mentioned this before. Forgive me if I have. But we actually covered off why I can't concentrate on things. And she's like, because of the environment I grew up in. It's like a defense mechanism or a safety mechanism. I'm just super alert, super tuned into different noises, like doors shutting, fucking sounds of different cars, like anything. I'm just hyper aware because, I used to have to kind of pick up on things like that and be like, all right, brace yourself or get ready, So it's like a defense mechanism. So I'm just super tuned into, like, I can only really give, I remember saying this, so I must have touched on it before, but I can only really give 70% to what I'm doing. I can't give 100% because I'm spending 30% of the time or 30% of my attention focusing on things that are happening around me, just to try and, prevent myself from getting cornered or, something, whatever. Anyway, so yeah, just did that, and I feel fucking good. Feel real good. Ready to rip into this, obviously, as we've started. What has happened since we last spoke? So I last spoke to you guys on Did I record on Thursday or Friday last week? No, I recorded on Friday because I remember being pressed for time and almost not. That's right, I did the barbell course last week. Damn, son. So yeah, this week's been pretty good. So Saturday, what happened Saturday? Recorded Friday. Did Caitlin make scrolls on Friday or Saturday? No, she made scrolls throughout the weekend. So Caitlin came over on Friday night. Well, she came over Friday. She definitely came over Saturday, and she was over on Sunday as well. We were hanging out all weekend. And she made scrolls Saturday, and they weren't the best scrolls ever that she'd made. I think she halved the recipe, and she just didn't she halved the recipe and then made the dough too thin. Whatever. Simple mistake. So then she gave another crack on Sunday, and they were the fucking best. I want her to make them again so I can video it and put it up on Instagram, because they were fucking so good. Vegan scrolls, holy shit. Then she made this, what do you call it? Icing out of almond milk, icing, sugar, and a bit of vanilla extract, and it just tasted like it was like buttermilk on these soft, delicious scrolls. They're not as good the day after, but the day of, man, I think I ate 3 or 4. They were so good. So I'm going to try and get her to make them again so I can film it. I also should do that with my lasagna. I need to make lasagna and film that just so I can put it up, because they're good recipes and they're so yum. We've been making, actually I should probably do it with this too. Oh boy, so much content to capture. My mind's racing again. I am considering buying a camera to take photos and film things. I've got my GoPro, yes, and it's great at filming stuff, but I'd like a proper camera as well. So I'm considering looking at buying one of them, but I'm not gonna. Okay, fucking hell, we've got to cover off a lot of things. I've got a list of stuff, and I know shit's just gonna pop up into my brain like it just did just then. Another conversation I was having with my psychologist is that I never really do anything on impulse, and rarely. I might buy things all at once, and it might seem like I'm, impulse buying things. I think I bought my laptop and my GoPro at the same time, but I'm not. I've been sitting on that decision for, it might be a month, might be 2 months, and I've figured out what I want to buy. And it's just the moment that I decide to buy it, I'm like, cool, I'm going to buy it now, and may as well buy something else at the same time. Because I don't know, I like managing my money well, so I don't like pulling money out of my savings unless I have a good reason to. I have to justify it. For me, buying a Garmin watch, they're fucking $1,200 or something, super expensive, but I've had this watch for 2 years, 3 years. I've had it for my whole Ironman training block, and I've put so many hours into it that if I was to divide it by how many fucking sessions I've done or how long I've worn it, it'd be like $0.01 per session. It's nothing. So I justify things by kind of how much I use them. I just bought a new pair of Nanos, and I train 3 or 4 times a week in them. So justified straight away. And I wear them as well during the day. So I justify that shit straight away. Runners as well. They're expensive, yes, but I spend so much time on my feet running. I do 40 plus, 40, 50, 60, depending on what I'm focusing on at that current period, Ks a week. If I was to have a shitty pair of runners, I'd get injured immediately. It's like me riding around on my bike with the seat height wrong. That's silly. Why would I do that? So it's worth investing in things that are going to help you get to where you need to be and prevent you from getting injured. So a good pair of runners is one of those things. I kind of lost track, but what I was getting at is she kind of just said, you don't really impulse buy things. You don't really buy things for the sake of buying it and being like, this is cool, like a childlike thing. Because I kind of, what we're touching on at the moment, excuse me if this is an overshare, but we're kind of working out the fact that I missed out a lot on my childhood. I didn't really have a proper I wasn't able to actually experience childhood from a child perspective. I was kind of forced to grow up real fast and become an adult and responsible and be the fun sponge and be the responsible one who's no, you can't do that. That's not responsible. So she's got to try and kind of feed that childlike, what's when you're trying to, I got to feed my child brain. I don't know. Childlike brain. I do have a childlike brain, but I got to feed that. curiosity. That's the word I was looking for. Got to feed that. And be a little bit more impulsive with things. So I got my nails painted because I was like, I want to get my nails painted. And then I'm just like, I'm going to do it. So I've got to try and feed that aspect of me a little bit more. So instead of weighing things up for fucking 3 weeks and then pulling the trigger, I've got to try and be like, maybe not with expensive things, but with little things, be like, cool, let's just see what that's like. Do it. You know, I want to try a new treat or a new fucking chocolate. Just buy it, eat it, and be like, yeah, cool. I'm doing that at the moment with Monster energy drinks. I've been drinking Monster Ultra, and like, I'm not against it. I read the ingredients, and like, it's got fucking a lot of caffeine, some taurine. It's got B vitamins and shit in there too, like, and sweetener. It's not. The ingredients aren't overly bad. Like, there's a limited, like, there's probably 5 or 10 ingredients in there. It's not that many. It's not as bad as I think people think it is. Bar the exception of sweetener. Sweetener's not great, but it's, in my opinion, like, in terms of a zero sugar Monster compared to a full sugar Monster, I'd rather have the zero sugar one because it's less sugar, and like, the fucking full sugar ones have a buttload of sugar. So I've been having them as like a pre-workout because it's got 160 milligrams of caffeine, which is 4 shots roughly, and they've been fucking dope. So shit like that, I'm just gonna keep experimenting things and being like, cool, this is nice, I like that. So yeah, but in terms of the Monster Ultra, great pre-workout, and you can get them relatively cheap too. So I'm gonna keep doing that until I feel shit. You just don't have more than one a day, or try not to have it after midday, because 160 milligrams of caffeine is a fucking shitload, and you don't want to, like, you know, bury yourself. But yeah, to get back to my point, my psychologist is saying I need to be more like kind of impulsive with things. That all started from me saying I want to buy a camera. Damn, son, I do have a wild mind. I don't want to tame it either. So yeah, I want to get a camera at some point in the near future, but we'll see how we go. So I can film more recipes and I've been saying that for ages, but I would like to film more recipes. I'd like to get a good tripod and film myself fucking training more. I'd like an intern to come around and film me all day. Oh, because I say the most wild shit. Speaking of, all right, now, no offense to anyone after me saying this. I mean, yeah, no offense. I don't mean any harm by it. It's just a light-hearted joke. So Caitlin and I were waiting to vote. We were waiting in line, and we had to wait for probably half an hour because it was quite busy where we went. And I was just like, well, there's no other way to pass the time other than just talking shit. So I was running my mouth, talking nonsense. I was just, whatever I saw, I would just riff and go off on a tangent and just say the most wild shit ever. And we saw this guy come out of voting, and he had a stick. He was blind, and he was like tapping the ground with a stick. And as he went past, I was like, booby penises. I just kind of like whispered booby penises under my breath. And Caitlin was like, what did you say? And I was like, I said booby penises. And she's like, why did you say that? And I was like, well, if he's blind, I want to know if he has like super hearing. And I wanted to see if he would turn around and look at me. He didn't. But part of me wonders, like, he probably heard it and was probably like, this guy's fucking with me, and then just kept walking. But it led me to think, I was like, what if, you know, you start whispering shit under your breath as blind people go past, and one day one of them will hear it. Who knows? So I might try and do that more often. Probably not. I just thought it was funny. Thought it was a funny thing to say while I was just running my mouth, as I do best. All right, so back to the agenda. My nail's really dirty. I think I'm going to scratch it off soon. Sorry. Back to the agenda. So, Caitlin made vegan scrolls, and they were fucking delicious. I got back into my training after having Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday off completely. So I got back into that on Saturday. Saturday, I had a 2-hour ride into an 8K run, but I made it 11 because I hadn't trained, and I was like, it works out better, because if I had done 8Ks, then I would have been walking 2Ks to the end of the track to get picked up, and I was like, I'm just going to keep running It just makes more sense. So 2-hour ride into a 10k run, and that 2-hour ride, holy shit, Saturday morning was so fucking cold. I wore I wore a skins top, then I wore a thermal long sleeve top, then I put my jersey on, then I had a little vest over the top, then I had my my booties on over my cycling shoes to protect my toes. I had latex gloves inside my like snow gloves to ride with, and I froze to the fucking bone for the whole 2 hours. I froze to death. It was disgusting. I got fucking an hour and 20 minutes into it, and I needed to stop to eat something. So I stopped and had a banana, and I started again, and it was just bad, man. Bad. I was so fucking cold. I was cold to the bone. I don't know if you've ever been cold to the bone before, but the wind coming through was just hitting me, and I was like, there's no way out of this. Like, I was just done. I was cold until I finished. And I got home, and like, I could barely undo my cycling shoes because my hands were just numb. I had fucking 2 layers of gloves on, and my hands were numb. Came inside, and it was warm inside. And like the warmth, I think the blood started getting back into my fingers, and it felt like someone was driving a pin through the top of each of my fingers. I have Raynaud's, which is like poor blood flow in my extremities. So that doesn't help. And it felt like someone was driving a pin through the tip of each of my fingers, and I was just standing inside with my fists clenched, just like, ah! You would have thought I was trying to go Super Saiyan. But I was sitting there, I was like, fuck! And then like, trying to fucking put them on the floor because we have heated floors. And I was trying to warm them up. It's a weird flex. I was trying to warm them up from the floor, and like it just sucked. And I knew I had to go for a run. So I gave myself like 15 minutes. Usually I try and get the turnaround done in about 5 or 10 minutes, but I gave myself 15 or 20 minutes to kind of warm up before I left for my run because I didn't want to wear gloves on my run. Oh boy, which I can't remember if I did or didn't. I don't think I did. So yeah, I tried to like let my body warm up again before I left, because if I had left and I was cold, it would have just wouldn't have gotten any better. But yeah, I ended up going for the run. The run was fucking mad. Like the ride was great too. It just fucking sucked. And then the run was sweet. That was a good day. Then Sunday I had a 3-hour ride, and I just decided to hit King Lake twice, and I actually got a PB on the second one. By 40 seconds, I averaged 340 watts on the whole way up, which was about 25 minutes. It was fucking sick. Like I could have gone a little harder. I didn't know. Like I don't really do efforts. I don't really push myself really hard going up. I try and just keep a nice steady pace below threshold. But I was like, nah, fuck it, have a crack. And this group went past me as I just stopped to take a wee, and then I was going to jump back on and go up again. And this group went past, and I was like, I probably won't catch them. And then I was like, although I could try. So then I did, and I picked off, it's probably a group of 10 people, and I think I picked off 6 or 7. I didn't catch the top, like the leaders, but I picked off everyone else, which was cool. And then as soon as I overtook someone, it was like, fuck, I can't let them catch me again, so I'd have to give it a bit. And I just kept pushing all the way up. Got to the top, and I was like, nice. Now I knew I hit a PB. I didn't know by how much it was, but I was like, that was definitely a PB. I've never held that wattage going up before. So I hooked a Yui and rode back home, and it was fucking great. Finished before 9:30, which is always good fun when you finish a ride nice and early on a Sunday. And then what else? I classically went to Zendan. What else did we do on the weekend? I think that was it. Then Saturday night we went to see Caitlin's work friend. She had a housewarming party, and that was kind of fun. It was pretty hectic, pretty long drive, but that was good fun. Talking more shit, and then rode Sunday, and then Sunday I was just like, can we do nothing today? Like I just want to do fucking zero. So that's what we did. We did zero after we went to Zendan, came back home, and we literally lay around and played Nintendo Switch all day. Just played fucking Mario Kart, and it was the bomb. I was very happy with that. Played Mario Kart and ate treats. It was so good. I was thinking like I was like, oh, maybe I should try and clean up my diet a little bit, because I eat pretty healthy, but I eat a lot of crap too. And I'm like, yeah, I'm going to clean up my diet. And I just fucking, I don't know, I just don't. I just keep buying crappy food. So I think I'm really going to have to try and stop buying shitty foods. Shitty foods being like, I bought vegan cookies from Coles today, and I've eaten nearly the whole packet, which is a lot. I don't need to. I don't need to eat them, but I did. I have, and they're really good. So I got to just like try and stop buying all these treaty treats. I think I have like a sugar addiction, so I need to try and wean myself off that a little bit. But yeah, that covers the weekend off. Now this week, let's look at this week. All right. This week was the first week of my program that I wrote for myself. I definitely went over that last week's episode. And Monday was a light day, meaning I'm just trying to prep my nervous system, prep the movement patterns, get everything ready to go for the week. And the fucking, like, the weights were like 60% less than what my working sets are, or my heavy days are 60% less. So quite significant. So the difference between 100 kilo back squats and 60 kilo back squats, quite significant reduction in weight. And I had deadlifts at 97.5. And my working sets this week were 120. And the fucking trying to drill technique with 97.5 kilos is fucking hard, man. Real hard. So it was just good. Like, I pulled up sore from doing fucking sets of 4 or 5 deadlifts at 97 kilos, which is ridiculous. When the reality is, if I wanted to do as many reps as I could touch and go with 97 kilos, I could probably nearly do 40 reps. I think I have done that before in the past. I think I've done like a set of 40 with 100 kilos. So 5 reps was fucking rough. Just goes to show how much technique, like if you can drill technique with lightweight, and like they were saying, a big motto they had was make light weights heavy to make heavy weights light. And I get that. So, that's what I'm trying to do with the lighter weights, really drill technique, really stick to it, so that when the weights do get heavy, it's like, cool, we can do this. Otherwise, I was worried that this week would be a bit shit because I had a few days off last week, but I was wrong, very wrong. This week was fucking flying. I feel so good. I felt like even on the weekend, I felt like I was fucking peaking. So I think those few days off with my neck actually helped heaps. My neck's feeling great now. I have to do these neck exercises just to try and keep, just to try and keep range of motion through my muscles, because they tend to, if they get scared, they get tight. So I've got to try and keep range of motion, which means I'm constantly, like, you won't see me because this is a podcast, but like I'll be in a random place and I'll feel my neck get a bit tight, and I'll just sit there and start looking left to right to left to right, and I look like one of those clowns at the carnival. And it's just a weird thing to see someone doing, just looking left and right constantly. So yeah, it's a great way to stay in shape, but it loosens it all up, makes me feel good. So very happy with that. This week has just been a good week of training. Monday, don't really remember what I've done this week. All I remember, I'll talk about the strength sessions because they're kind of key. Everything else is, swimming felt good too this week. I've had 2 swims. But yeah, the strength sessions have been feeling real nice. Like the deadlifts at 120 were fucking hard, but they felt solid. Then overhead press was pretty light. I'm just trying to drill the technique with those ones. And then today I did back squats and bench press. Bench press didn't feel great this week. It felt really heavy, and I think it was because I set the J hooks a bit too high. So I'd get into my super tight position with my upper back locked in, and then I would have to break that tight position to unrack the weight, and it just it just made it feel a lot harder because I wasn't in as much of a tight position, and because my back wasn't packed down as much, it meant my chest kind of dipped a bit, which meant I had to pull the weight down even further. So I think next time I'll set the J hooks a bit lower than I think. That way I can make sure I get into that real tight position. But I've just, technique is so important. It's such a big pillar to lifting weights. And I've just found myself in this loop of since going to the Strong First course, I am watching people put up their lifts on Instagram and stuff like that, and it's just, my brain is just like, could probably do that. Make sure you could be making sure you're tighter. Don't overextend at the top, this and that. And I'm just picking apart their lifts, which is really good practice for the shit that I learned. But it's like, oh man, I can't unsee this now. So I'm really trying to just drill my technique hard, because I can't pick apart other people's technique if mine's shit. So I'm really making sure that I am on top of that stuff now. Particularly squats was today like at 85, which is, it's not really that heavy, but they felt so fucking good. They just felt tidy as, it's just, I'm like, cool. Like I was able to sit really upright. My knees weren't caving in. Everything was working well. And it's just, I don't know, man. Just drilling that technique has made everything feel far, far, far better. So I'm very happy with that. Otherwise, what else has been going on? Oh, that's right. I got me some Tom Segura tickets to go see Tom Segura when he comes to Melbourne in January next year. Long time to wait. I'm actually going to see Shane Gillis in August as well, which would be quite funny. But yeah, Tom Segura next year. His tickets went live yesterday, and it's raining pretty heavy outside. And I was paranoid that I was going to miss them, because I was like, oh man, because I look at him and I'm like, this guy's fucking awesome. So I assume everyone else thinks that, but a lot of people don't really know. Like if you don't follow comedy, you don't really know who these guys are. So I was like, no, he's going to sell out instantly. So I jumped on straight away and bought them yesterday. And yeah, I'm fucking keen, very keen to go and see him live. It's going to be fucking great. It's going to be a great way to stay in shape. I really hope he brings his wife as well, and she opens or does like an opening act, because she's quite funny as well. What else was there? There was something else that popped into my brain. Yeah, that's right. Another solid session from this week was the Metcon at BFT Monty yesterday. I was talking to Ben last week. Apparently, he said I mentioned it to him last week, but I don't remember doing that. Anyway, not important. I had this format in mind of so didn't know how big the blocks would be, but I had a format of saying, all right, you do one couplet of movements, or you do one effort or one little zone, then you do another zone, then you do another zone, and then you go back through and you try and beat your scores at each of the zones. So we did say block 1 was a 1.2k ski with 20 dumbbell snatches after each effort in teams of 5, and then in remaining time it was max ski curls, right? Then block 2 was 1.2k row, 15 burpees after each effort, and max row curls in remaining time. Then block 3 was air bike, 200 air bike curls, I think, with 20-second efforts. Then after each effort was 20 kb swings, and then max in remaining time it was max D-ball ground to shoulders. Anyway, you do that once, then you go back through. It was 6-minute blocks at each station, whatever. And it was cool. It was fucking hard. It was really difficult, but it was fucking cool. So I think we'll revisit that one at some point. Then I had a cool idea, not a cool idea, but I thought of another cool structure for a little work, and it's like almost like a choose your own adventure. So either in pairs or teams of 3 or something like that. Lay the work out that needs to be done. So you say you got to hit a 2k ski or a 3k ski. Then you got to do 100 burpees. Then you got, say, 100 fucking devil's press, something like that. Not those movements, or 100 thrusters or whatever. And in your team of 3, you got to try and get all that shit done as quickly as possible. And then kind of your team of 3, you decide how you do it. The next team decides how they do it, and everyone can work through it differently, all the same, but you kind of pick your own way through it. So you might go, if it was just say it was a 3k ski, 100 devil's press, 100 box jumps, 100 burpees, 100 thrusters. You might say, all right, guys, we're going to do ski, then fucking burpees, then we're going to do box jumps, then we're going to do devil's press, then we're going to do thrusters. you just work through like that. Or it might be like, all right, guys, we're going to go 40-stroke ski, then we're going to go 5 of each of those movements and kind of chip away at it all at once until we get through. Like, I don't know, you just pick your own way through. Thought it was a cool concept. So, I don't know, maybe we might do one of them. Maybe I could just do it myself. That'd be fun. Oh, no. Oh boy, sorry. Anyway, yesterday I had a 90-minute ride. Yesterday was a big day, actually. I swam in the morning, did the Metcon, and then I had a 90-minute ride in the afternoon. I was supposed to ride today, but I didn't. The weather today is not great. And yesterday afternoon was just a fucking great afternoon. The sun was out, and I was like, I would much rather go and ride 90 minutes outside now, even though I've already done quite a bit today, than have to ride 90 minutes indoors tomorrow. So I did that yesterday, and I'm so glad I did, because it means now I don't have to fucking do anything this afternoon. Anyway, I was riding, and on the way to Strathewen, it's kind of weird. Like, the road is kind of cut into a hill. It's not a cliff, it's a hill. And so it means like there's a bit of a hill to one side, say you're right. Then there's like the road, and then it banks off on the left, probably about 2 or 3 meters down, and then it's like flat lands where flat flood lands. Like the water can rise to there, but it rarely does. And you know, people's properties are on either side of the road, obviously. And I was coming around the bend on my bike, and then I see this fucking car like off the side of the road, sitting perpendicular, which is like at a right angle to the road, off the cliff, with like its bumper into the hill on the side, and its tail into the fence of someone's property. And I was like, what the fuck? And I like, you know, rode past, and it was some kid on his P's, and I was like, you alright, mate? And he just looks at me, and he was fucking, man, I swear to God, he was either on drugs, or he was just fucking, you know, a bit silly. It's like, yeah, I don't know, man, I just came around the corner and my brakes locked up, and now I'm fucking stuck here, I don't know, and I was trying to get out, and it was like Austin Powers, man. If you've seen Austin Powers, when he gets the cart stuck and he's like, shoves forward and back, that's exactly how he got himself stuck. And I was like, fuck. I was like, do you have anyone you can call? He's like, I think I'm just going to try and get out. And I was like, all right. Like, he'd fucking rolled the whole rubber wheel off his front rim. I just don't think he knew exactly what he was doing. Either that, or he was like, you know, when something pretty full on happens and your adrenaline spikes and you don't really know how to process things properly. I think he might have still been in that state. And I was like, if you need someone, call them. Like, do you want me to call someone for you? And he's like, no, I'll be all right. And I was like, all right, well, I'm going to keep riding. I'm going to ride back in 10 minutes. If you're still here, you know, if you're still here and you need me, I'll stop and I'll give you a hand. I was not much use. I was on my fucking bike. I had cleats on and bike shorts. Like, what the fuck am I supposed to do? Anyway, I rode off and then came back past, and by the time I came back past, someone else had stopped with a four-wheel drive and was like talking to him, and I was like, cool. He's in someone else's hands now. Felt bad because he was on his red P's, and his car was like, if anything, his fucking rear bumper was cooked because he was backing into the fence, and his tyre was a bit fucked up. But anyway, not my problem, fortunately. Anyway, he was stuck. And I wonder if anything happened to him. I don't know. I'd like to know. Like, I almost went back in my car, but I was like, nah, man. Like, I don't want to fucking... I don't know. Like, not that he deserved it, but I feel like he was on some shit. Maybe that's why he didn't want to call the cops. Anyway, I have a bunch more shit that I want to talk about, but I'm just going to not talk about it because I feel like we should get into the fucking topic of the day. So... I started off this topic as he cracks a Cocoa Coast. I started off this topic. I'm going to stop cracking Cocoa Coast on the podcast and start cracking monsters, guys. I'm not, because I never record in the morning, and I would not drink a monster at 1:30. No fucking way. Unless I was planning on staying up all night. Anyway, talking about the monsters real quick. They're a great pre-workout because if you have coffee pre-workout, it makes you want to shit your pants. But if you have a monster pre-workout, it doesn't do that to you. It actually keeps your stomach nice and chill. So that's one of the main reasons I've started having them pre-workout, because it's like it doesn't fuck with my stomach as much as a coffee does. So I'm just going to keep making subtle points until everyone's drinking Monster that listens to this podcast. Don't do it. Anyway, so the topic of today is... Sorry, guys, I had a phone call that was relatively urgent, actually, come to think of it, but I'm not going to tell you what it was about because I feel like I would just be provoking the issue. Anyway, the topic of today is... Well, the question I asked myself was, can we teach mental toughness? But I feel like the topic should be, what is mental toughness? Because, like, what is it? What is mental toughness? So I'm going to start this off by flashing back to an episode I did in the past where I spoke about the difference between mental toughness and being like hard-headed or stubborn. And I think that being hard-headed, I think that being mental tough or having good mental toughness is having the ability to not quit on something as soon as it gets hard. It could be in a workout, it could be trying to grasp a new skill, concept, or studies in your everyday life. Like having the ability to just realize, all right, this is hard, but I'm going to finish it. I'm going to keep going, and I don't need to quit. Like, I've got this covered. Having that kind of ability in your mind. It's having the ability to understand that things are going to be difficult just as much as things will be easy. It's all part of the process. So like, you're going to have times where it's fucking hard. You're going to have times where it's fucking easy. It's all part of the process. That's just how it works. You can't, you can't expect it. It's not always going to be hard. It's not always going to be easy. Ebbs and flows. It's just like life. It's always going to be like that. It's understanding that if we are starting out in something new, that it is going to be hard, but if we persist, it'll get easier. Like, everything that you start new off the cuff is always going to be hard, but it always gets easier. Like, the better you get at it, the more you understand it. It's like picking up a new skill. Like, at first you're like, geez, how do I even do this? Juggling. You're like, what the fuck? Then the more you practice, you're like, oh, this actually isn't that hard. So practice makes perfect in this case. You know, when you start something new, it's going to be hard, but it's mental toughness is kind of being like, this is hard now, but I know that in the future it's going to be easier. And knowing when to quit or take a break. Like, sometimes you're going to need to pull the pin on something and quit while you're ahead or before you make things worse. That might be in the case of an injury or, you know, your mental burnout. Like, in my case, injury, I'm not good at this one. Like, I like to think of myself as having good mental toughness, but in this case, I'm not with this aspect of it. I tend to always just push through things, probably because of my upbringing. You know, I'm always like, no excuse is good enough. I have to do this, otherwise I'm not good enough. That's kind of my attitude, and that's not a good attitude to have. So, like, I feel like with my neck, though, I was pretty responsible because I was like, nope, I need to take time, let this heal, then I can get back to doing what I want to do. So I feel like I'm getting better, but I'm not perfect with this one. And being in touch with yourself and knowing yourself. It's so important with this one. Like, I've struggled with this a bit over the years. I'm getting much better at it now, but you need to know yourself in terms of, you need to understand the way your mind works, in terms of pushing yourself and how you respond to being pushed. For me, I just play games with myself. You know, if I've got a really hard 5-minute effort, I'm like, you know what, do 2 minutes, then have a break. I'll get to 2 minutes, I'm like, you know what, why not just go to 3? That's over halfway, then you can break. And I'm like, 3, fuck, there's only 2 minutes left. Let's just get one of those out of the way, then I might rest for that last one. Then I get to that last minute and I just push through to the finish and I'm done. I always just play games with myself. I know I'm going to do the full 5 minutes, but I pretend like I'm not. And that gets me through. That's how I do fucking everything. I'm always like, you know what, take a break halfway. And I don't take the break and I just finish it off. It's just how it works. It's just what works for me. So figure out how you work and kind of play into that so you can be better. Now, being hard-headed, which at surface level looks like mental toughness because you're like, yeah, they're pushing through, they're not giving up, but it's different. Like, hard-headed people never stop regardless of circumstance. If I stop, I die attitude. Now, I have probably come from that, and it's not a healthy attitude to have. It's like, it may seem good from the outside, but trust me, it doesn't last. You can push through stuff, but it isn't from a smart, like hard-headed people can push through stuff, but it isn't from a smart place. It's from a dangerous place, a place where you could be putting yourself at risk. If you're hard-headed, you're the kind of person who would, that's right. So if you're hard-headed, you're the kind of person who's going to turn a muscle strain into a muscle tear. Whereas a mentally tough person would be like, okay, this is an injury. I understand that if I pull back now, I can let it recover and I can get back to training sooner. Whereas a hard-headed person's like, if I stop, I die, and they make it worse. The hard-headed person is not interested in listening to people when they tell them they might be overdoing it or doing something incorrectly. They're like, no, I'm just going to do it. And they just keep going. They're not willing to stop or take a break, even if it's at their own detriment. This could be a physical injury kind of thing, or a mental aspect. Like they might be burning themselves out, but they're not willing to take a break until they are forced to take a break. Thinking that feeling low mentally is a weakness, and that it should be something that, can be overcome or ignored. And that's not real. That's false. That's a lie. Feeling low mentally is a real thing, and you need to acknowledge that and you need to address it. It's not something that needs to be pushed through, overcome, push past. No, that's not a thing. We need to acknowledge that, address it, and then kind of remove that, or not put a band-aid on it, fix the whole thing completely. Then that's not going to be a problem again. Not going to be a problem anymore. So, in terms of knowing yourself, you need to know when you're trying to take the easy route. So you need to know the difference between whether you're trying to take the easy way out or whether you are actually in need of a break. For me, I know that if I take the easy route or pull up short on something, it means I need a break. I'll honestly just subconsciously stop. It isn't even a choice anymore. It's my body saying, nah, we're done. So if I'm doing a ride or a run or something, I'll just stop. If I'm doing a really hard effort on the bike, I'll just stop. It's not a choice of I'm going to stop now. It's no, I'm going to keep pushing. I have the same mind games with myself, get to the next part. But there are times where I'll just stop and I'll be like, what the fuck? And I'll be like, okay, I must be really struggling. I will just pull up short. So for me, that's a sign. It's okay, cool. I must really be struggling. I must kind of be getting close to that break point. If I sleep through my alarms without realizing that I've snoozed them, that's a sign for me that I needed that sleep. I needed that break. So I might have to miss a session now because I don't have time, because I've slept through my alarm. That to me is a sign of, okay, cool. This is needed. My body needed this. It needed this extra sleep. It needed to miss a session in order for me to keep moving forward. But if I'm being honest, I should probably be a bit better at reading the warning signs before it happens. I haven't slept through an alarm for a long time, which is a good thing. But at the same time, I need to get better at reading that situation so that I don't sleep through an alarm. Because, you don't want to be sleeping through alarms if you need to get up. So I need to get better at identifying when that's about to happen before it happens, so I can address it before my body forces me to sleep through an alarm. Usually, if I ignore the warning signs for too long, then my body's going to give me forced rest, which is what I think happened with my neck. I had a few large weeks of training. So although I managed my neck better than I probably and although I managed my neck quite well, or I think I managed it quite well, it was still one of those things that I think happened to me because it was we need you to rest now. Because I had a few large weeks, I think 3 or 4 really large weeks where I was, I started to feel them. I was damn, I'm training quite a bit. I felt good, but I was I'm definitely putting in a lot of work. Then I miraculously ended up with a neck sprain that took me out for 3 days. And I think it was just good. I feel great now. I feel much better. So I think I needed that to give myself a bit of a break, take a step back, chill out a bit. I think it was just something that I needed, because I had, like I said, I had a couple of big weeks. So you need to learn, you need to know yourself, you need to understand how you work. So can we teach it? Or how do we learn mental toughness? So with all of this considered that I've spoken through so far, can we teach mental toughness? And I believe that the only way we can teach mental toughness, mental toughness. The only way we can teach mental toughness is to educate people on the following points. We need people to understand. Where am I reading? Sorry, I've written notes and I just keep missing where I've written them. We need people to understand that it's okay not to feel 100% all the time. It's okay to need to take a break every now and then. It is completely normal to feel this way. It isn't weak, and you're not being a pussy. It's fucking normal. In fact, from my experience, I think it's more hardcore or tough to actually acknowledge that you need a break than it is to push through it. I've been on both sides here. I know what it's fucking like. Like, I honestly think that it's way bigger for you to be like, no, you know what? I'm going to take a step back, let myself recover, and then I can come back to this. I don't need to prove anything wrong. I don't need to prove anyone wrong. I don't need to prove that I can do this. Taking a step back in order to take 2 steps forward is far better than just taking 1 step forward, another step forward, and then hitting a wall and fucking getting pushed back 5 steps. We need people to understand that it's not weak to acknowledge that you're not feeling 100%. This could be physically or mentally. It's not weak to acknowledge that. And I think the social norms, especially for dudes, is, you're fucking weak if you want to take a break or you don't feel 100%. Like, you are a pussy. That's what we're being told. That's what we're brought up to believe. And it sucks. Because, you've got that underlying tone. Even though you know that you are doing the right thing, there's still that underlying voice of, you're a fucking pussy. Why are you doing this? So how do we teach this? This needs to be taught from a mental health aspect. We need to be re-educated on it because society has raised us wrong. We've been raised in the wrong way, particularly with male culture. We're told that it is soft not to feel great mentally when it's just fucking bullshit. Like, it's not soft not to feel great mentally. It's part of life. We need to try and fix it. We need to address it. We need to make ourselves feel a bit better. It's not fucking soft. It's just part of life. And not addressing it is only going to make it worse because it's going to compound and compound and compound until it puts us in a place where you're either going to fucking kill yourself or you're going to end up insane or you're going to end up drinking forever. Like, neither of those or none of those are great options. So it's, we've got to educate people from the mental health aspect that it's okay not to feel 100% all the time. It's fine. It's acceptable. It's normal. Like I mentioned before, we need to be taught to understand that some days are going to be harder mentally than others, and that's okay. Like, we need to be taught that because, you wake up and you're like, I can't do anything today. What's wrong with me? I can't concentrate. I can't get my work done. It's like, that's fine. You're probably just having a shitty fucking day. That's normal. It's part of life. There are also days where it'll be impossible mentally, and that's okay. Like, you'll wake up and you'll be like, I can't do it today. And that's fine. Like, that's normal as well. That's something that, everyone experiences. It's not just you. You don't have to bury that. It's everyone experiences it. And if we don't respect our mental health, we are fucking doomed. You are doomed. You are gonna hit a wall at some point and it's not gonna keep you improving. If you don't look after or respect your mental health, you are gonna hit a tipping point at some point in your life and it's not gonna be good for you or those around you. Like, you will do something, you will take a path that you probably can't come back from because mental health is everything. If you have good mental health, it allows you to do unlimited things. But if you don't respect that and you fucking keep pushing it to the back, then one day it's going to catch up. You can't ignore it. So that's the first thing we need to educate people on. The next, I believe we need to educate people on is we need people to understand the importance of thinking long-term. Pulling up short in the short term to prevent a burnout or an injury that could potentially sideline you for months, as opposed to, just missing a session or a week of training, is fucking intense. That's the bread and butter. That's the bread and butter of Ironman training right there. Like, miss a swim today so that you can come back and hit the whole of next week, as opposed to doing that swim, injuring yourself, missing 3 weeks. That's the whole bread and butter of it right there. In the Strong First course, we actually learned that you stop the program before you fail. That way you're not going to burn yourself out or injure yourself trying to make a lift that you probably knew you couldn't make anyway. So that way you're not going to burn yourself out, and you pull the weights back and you start a new build from that point onwards. So you pull the weights back from, where you almost failed, and then start building from there instead of actually failing and potentially injuring yourself through poor form. The mentality should be long-term and not short-term. Miss a session today to have a full week next week, instead of hurting yourself and missing the whole of next week, or, the whole next 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Consistency is always gonna win. Always. Consistency wins. How do we teach this? Now, this needs to be taught along the way. Oh, yeah, true. I thought that didn't make any sense. So this needs to be taught along the way, by helping people understand that putting up consistent good work in the long term is going to yield better results than a burst of amazing work in the short term. An example. Diet challenges, 8-week diet challenges. So someone who regularly goes hard on those 8-week diet challenges, but as soon as the 8 weeks is up, reverts back to their old ways and puts all the weight they lost back on, and moves straight back into their old habits. They're never going to progress as far as the person who has decided that they're going to change their lifestyle over the next 6 months. And over those 6 months, they implement little changes here and there that they are going to keep those changes, that they plan on keeping those changes for a lifetime. And instead of dropping their fucking daily intake from 3,500 calories to 2,500 calories or 2,000 calories, they're dropping their daily intake from 2,500 to 200. Cutting out the fucking refined crap. Maybe exercising an extra session a week. Instead of 3, they're doing 4, or instead of doing 3 sessions, they're doing 3 sessions and they're taking their dog for a walk a couple of days a week. Like, they just introduce slow little changes. They make their bedtime a bit better. They stop drinking as much. Little changes in the long term are going to help you far better than fucking 8-week challenge. Like, you can do as many of those little challenges throughout the year as you want, but unless you're going to carry changes through to your life for the long term, they're not going to be as beneficial. So the person who decides to plan for the long term is always going to do better, because they're going to be in it forever. It's not going to be something they see as a chore. It's like, okay, this is my life now. Like, I'm going to look after myself, the 80-20 rule. Eat really good 80% of the time and eat whatever the fuck you want the rest. So they're going to go further than those people who are restrictive as for 8 weeks and then fucking blow out at the end because they can't wait to eat all the chocolates. So yeah, think long term. Long term always goes further. Another example, 2 people starting out at the gym. One has a goal to train 6 days a week. The other has 3 days a week. These are people that have just gotten into training. So the 6-day-a-week person lasts 2 weeks before they quit, because it's fucking too much. It's way too much. If you're just starting out at the gym, going 6 sessions a week, fucking straight off the bat, is going to crush you. Like, you are going to be so sore and stiff and tight, and it's going to feel shit. Whereas the 3-day-a-week person lasts a month and they're like, cool, I might actually add another session because that feels pretty good. And I'm starting to enjoy it. They both did 12 sessions, but one obviously thought at the end of it, like, I'm going to add more. I'm going to start doing more, and one quit. Like, that was a fabricated example, but it's the same principle. Like, don't fucking launch in too hard, blow yourself out. Jesus, I hit the mic. Blow yourself out and then quit. When you can kind of ease into it, make little changes, because little changes go a long way, especially if you're planning for a year. If you make a little change every month for a year, that's 12 changes for the whole year. That's a lot. As opposed to making all 12 it's like, what do you call them? New Year's resolutions. Like making 12 changes in the first month of the year. And then they last a month and you're like, fuck, this is way too hard. Whereas if you had implemented one change every month for the year and given yourself a month to get used to that change, it's the process of adaptation or adaptation. That's how it works. Like, that's how you get stronger. You lift a certain amount of weight for a period of time, then you add more and you get used to that. You add more. It's just how you fucking work. It's how we train ourselves. It's how we train our muscles, our aerobic systems. Why can't it be how we adapt new skills and new habits? Like, that's how we should look at it. I actually came to a realization the other day that I've been doing, so I'm up to 8 minutes on a block that I started. Let's start back. Let's roll it back. I've got to deliver this properly. So on my trainer, I started doing 2-minute sets at 320 watts. And they were hard. And I was like, I don't know how I'm going to do this. This is really difficult. And then I upped it to, I didn't up it. My coach upped it. 3 minutes. Then she was like, 4 minutes, 5 minutes, 8 minutes. Now, 5 minutes, 6 minutes, then 8 minutes. So I'm doing 8-minute blocks at 320 when I started doing them I started doing 2-minute blocks. Still the same rest time, 3-minute turnaround, like 3-minute rest. But I'm doing 6 more minutes. I'm doing 6 minutes extra on top of what I started them at. And it's fine. They're very doable. I did 3 of them yesterday. Felt great. Like, you just slowly add, and then eventually you're going to get to a point where you're like, fuck, I can do this? Great. So we should, kind of teach it the same way, teach people the same way, like, being mentally tough is kind of thinking long term and committing that this is a fucking perfect clip. So being mentally tough is thinking and accepting the fact that it's going to take a long time to kind of get the results we want, and accepting the fact that we are going to have to be in it for the long haul. That's mentally tough. Being hard-headed is thinking that you can get it done in a week. That's never going to happen. You need to think long term. That is mentally tough. That was a great clip. Whoa, exclusive. So the next and final thing I think we need to educate people on is we need people to understand that you can do more than you believe you can. Trust me, you can do far more than you think you can. What was I going to say? You can always give a little more until you can't. Like, you'll know when you can't because you won't be able to do it. But you can keep going. You can keep pushing. You can keep going. You can always give a little bit more. It's going to take a hell of a lot to find that point where you can't give anymore. Like, I don't think many people have ever been to that point. I don't even think I've been to that point. Or maybe in my Ironman, maybe. But I didn't stop. So no, I haven't. I haven't reached that point where I can't physically give anymore. It's just, it's so difficult to get there. I reckon I was pretty close, but I wasn't there. So we need people to understand that you can always give a little bit more. We are far more capable than we give ourselves credit for. We are our own harshest critics and biggest limiters most of the time, because we're like, I can't do that. So you don't even really try. Whereas if you had a fucking crack, you probably would. You'd surprise yourself. I think this attitude is quite limited to, like, you got to ignore strength stuff and super skilly based stuff with this, because like, you want to try and clean and jerk fucking 100 kilos and you've never done clean and jerk in your life. You're not going to be able to do it. It's just not possible. Unless you dedicate time to training that, then you might get it, yes. But off the bat, it doesn't matter how much you believe in yourself, you're not going to move it. Like, if I was to say, I'm going to do a 100 kilo clean and jerk tomorrow, couldn't do it. Not possible. So I think you got to take strength and skill-based movements and things out of it, at least in the short term. So what was next? That's right. So you've heard of the David Goggins 40% rule, meaning that you only work to 40% of your actual capacity. You have 60% of unused potential, or maybe it's the other way around. Now, let's say 40%. Anyway, you just kind of limit yourself. You limit yourself at that 40%. You don't go above it. You can try, trust me. Like, that's how I kind of try and do things more, is like, give a little bit more. Just say no one more time. The example I use to try and teach this is, it can only be taught through experience. You have to put yourself through uncomfortable positions in training or in life to kind of understand this concept best. So if you're running and you've never run before and you think, I can't run more than a K, try it. Give it a shot. Go out and run. Get to a K, and then when your body's like, stop, please stop, say no, and keep running. And then, you might get to, 1.5 Ks, and your body's going to be like, can we stop now? Seriously though, can we stop? Say no again. And then you might get to 2 Ks, 2.5, and then one more time, say no, and then see how far you can go. Most people, you might get 3 or 4 Ks in and be like, oh shit, cool, I'm going to keep going till I get to 8. You can go further than you think you can. Just say no. When your body tells you to stop, just try saying no once or twice or 3 times and see how much further you can go than you thought you could. It works, trust me. I've fucking done it. You know, in that Ironman, I wanted to walk so many times before I started accepting the fact that I had to walk. I just said, no, not yet. I'm going to keep running, not going to walk. And, you know, it worked. It did. It got me fucking further than I should have. And then, you know, eventually I had to start incorporating walks because the pain was a lot. But, you know, it works. Say no. Just say no once or twice and you'll go further than you thought you could have gone. In terms of life, for me, I really want to give stand-up comedy a crack. I think it's something that I'm kind of working towards. But I have a massive fear of public speaking. I think it's better now, but I'm just traumatized from when I was a kid. Getting up and doing presentations in front of class was just fucked. I just don't like it. So I have like a fear of public speaking. And I know that all I got to do is get up in front of people and start maybe an open mic and do it. Like, I know I can do it, but it's going to be so uncomfortable at first. It's going to fucking suck. Maybe the first 10 or 15, 20 times that I do it, it's going to be rough. But I know it's going to get better after that. And I know that because I've experienced these uncomfortable positions. Like, I know I can do it. I've experienced these uncomfortable positions through training. And I think that's the best way we can teach people that they can exceed their expectations is through training, because it's the most readily available kind of arena to do it in. It's great for mental health too, not to mention, but it's the most readily available arena for us to actually do these things is training. Go to the gym and you fucking have a crack, train, do something, push yourself past what you thought you could do, and, you know, see how you go. Learn that you are capable of more than you are capable of. It's great. Find people that can push you, because having great people push you is fucking awesome, man. It makes everything easier. Having great people around you that can actually push you into doing things, push you past what you thought you were capable of. Like, train with people that are better than you, and try and keep up. And then if you can't, great, but you're probably going to have a harder crack than you would have if you were by yourself. So that's another way we can try and do it. But you got to put yourself into these situations to try and experience that feeling of, hey, I don't think I can go any further, but I'm going to. And then experiencing that, oh shit, I'm actually better than I thought I was. Great. So yes, I think we can teach mental toughness, but I don't think it's as simple as pushing someone in a hard workout. I think we need to educate them on a lot of different aspects. And those main aspects are, wrong button. So I think the main aspects we need to educate people on, to try and help improve their mental toughness, are understanding the importance of looking after our mental health. That is a big one. Thinking in the long term, having a long-term mindset, and accepting the fact that we've got to be in it for the long haul to actually see the results we want to see. And knowing that you are capable of far more than you are capable of. Knowing that you can actually push yourself past what you believe and that it'll be okay. Knowing that you can actually, go that little bit further and that everything's going to be okay. You're not going to fucking kill yourself if you do it. Knowing that you will pull up all right. And worst case scenario is you don't make it, like you fail that attempt. It's like, okay, that's fine. You found your limit. Now you just got to try and get past that. Keep working towards it. So I think, yes, we can teach mental health, but it's, we've got to teach a combination of 3 different things to try and teach it to people. But it's definitely teachable for sure. I would advocate that 100% of the time. Oh. Anyway, wow. Let's wrap this up, shall we? I think that was short but sweet, eh? I covered off a bit. I just think I like these topics where I don't have to research, because research puts a lot of pressure on me. Whereas I feel like I'm good at unpacking concepts. Just because, I feel like I can unpack the shit out of a concept. So anyway, to wrap this up, I'm going to finish off by giving you some cool little concepts. Not really. We'll save that one for next week. All right. So, I heard this thing on Joe Rogan's podcast, and I thought it was just super cool, and it ties in well with this. So the more new things, being skills, hobbies, education, whatever, that you pick up in life, the better you get at picking skills up. Like the more you understand the process of picking up a new skill. Like picking up a new skill is difficult. There's an adjustment period where it's like you're still getting used to kind of doing it. You're still getting used to that adaptation process. You're still trying to practice it. You're still trying to learn it. You don't really have the basics down to progress at it. You don't have the basics down, so you can't make it more difficult. You kind of just have to accept the fact that you are kind of just sticking to this phase for an extended period of time until you kind of come to grips with it. So I just think it was so true. Like the more things you pick up, the more new things you pick up and learn, the better you get at picking things up. And I just think that's a fucking great attitude to have. Like I love picking up new skills and learning new things. Like this course was fucking awesome. I learned so much, and I'm in that kind of interim period of trying to still learn and put the skills and stuff I learned into practice. So I think it's just such a good mindset to have, understanding that the more skills you pick up, the more new things you pick up, the better you get at picking up new things. And I had this will be the last thing. I'll finish on this note. All right, guys. So today I was leaving to go train, right? And I picked up my backpack. Hang on. There we go. So I was leaving to go and train, and I picked up my backpack, and it was light as a feather. Nothing was in it. And I checked my drink bottle. My drink bottle was full, and that was in there. And I was like, there is still nothing in this bag. And I was like, you know what? I've got to start filling it with stuff. So I started grabbing a jumper. I grabbed a beanie. I grabbed a Cocoa Coast. I grabbed a Monster. I grabbed an apple, a banana. Then I grabbed something else that was completely just ridiculous and no need. I think I grabbed a hat. I don't wear hats. And I threw it all in the bag and I put it on my back. I was like, nice. Now I have justified the backpack. Instead of just carrying a light backpack, I needed to make it heavier to make it worth taking. I do it all the time. I wondered if anyone else did it. I think it's, it's weird how we do certain things like that. Anyway, on that note, I hope you guys have a ripper week. I will chat to you next week. Don't know what next week's topic's going to be, but it'll be something much like this one. But yeah, have a good week, guys, and I will chat to you in a number of days. All right? Ciao, ciao.